Okay, I'm going to pick up where I left off. Okay, remember Ardashir, okay, who was basically the founder of Sassanian. Ardashir is going to build a new city at Firuzabad. This is a new city that he's going to create. We're on a shoestring budget here at Queen's College. I imagine, you know, pretty soon I'll be bringing in my own blackboard. Well, the new city at Firuzabad was laid out in a circle, signifying that the city is at the center of world power. This is not going to be the only major world city that's going to be created in a circular pattern. We're going to find out that Baghdad, when it's built on basically the ruins of Sassanian, will be built out in a circular pattern. Simeon, you had a question.
Also, Atlantis was apparently built in a circle.
Most of what?
Atlantis.
Oh, the lost continent? I thought you were saying Atlanta. No, okay. Yeah, I want to make sure. You know, had me scared there. I was thinking you were going to ask if there's a Coca-Cola museum there, too. Like they have in Atlanta. You gotta love that city, home of an airport. And basically, it's the central world power, and each gate that the city has opens to trade routes to the following areas. Each gate opens up toward India, China, Rome, and Arabia. All areas of important trade. However, the truly significant administrative and commercial capital, the truly significant administrative and commercial capital of Sassanian Iran will be at Sassanian, which I talked to you about, that was built on the Tigris originally by the Assassins. Now, Sassanian originally was a group of towns. Sassanian originally was a group of towns. And once again, if I go too fast, slow me down, it's okay. I'll repeat it 20 times if we need to hear it, okay? So, in effect, the basic city of Sassanian is a group of towns flanking the Tigris River at a point where it flows close to the Euphrates. So the group of towns while flanks the Tigris is very close to the Euphrates, where the two rivers can be connected by canals. Okay? This is for transportation and economic advantage. So the two rivers will be connected by canals. Now, caravans from east and west. Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead. And commerce. Okay? Yes.
So it was originally a group of towns that flanked which one was it?
The Tigris River.
And was close to the
Euphrates River.
Okay.
You know your ancient rivers of Mesopotamia, right? Or your rivers of ancient Mesopotamia, I should say, that's still there. Okay, the Tigris and the Euphrates. You've heard of the Fertile Crescent, right, Josh?
Yes.
Do you remember who coined it?
The Egyptians, maybe? No. Yeah.
Okay, this is Jeopardy, dude.
Yeah. Who coined the term in modern times?
James Henry Breasted. Okay, associated with the University of Pennsylvania. Now,
they had the ability to build canals, Professor, at that stage?
I'm sorry?
They had the engineering ability to build canals?
Yes, they did. The Chinese did, the Persians did, the Egyptians did as well. So this technology, while it's not going to be, of course, the same as the technology I have now, Josh, you know, they're not going to have a computer template for it, but they managed to be fairly effective in building canals. And remember, too, that you had to have some mastery of irrigation works in order to basically live in that area. And if you have a mastery of irrigation ditches, then it's only a small leap to building canals. Speak to me.
Didn't Mohenjo-daro and Harappa also made something like that? Mohenjo-daro and Harappa civilization.
Harappan civilizations, yes.
Yeah.
Harappan civilizations were flanking the Indus River, and they were ancient cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, the city of the dead. And not only did they have canal building, but they basically, those were planned cities. They were built on rectangular grid patterns where the streets come to a 90-degree angle, and they had flush toilets. Okay? So that wouldn't make its way again to Europe until the 1800s, AD. Okay? And that's always a benefit. That's always a sign of advanced civilization, a flush toilet. Okay? Now, caravans from east and west. I'm sorry, Sean, I dissed you. Sean, speak to me, Dehgans.
I'm just curious, did they have locks in the canals?
Yes, that could actually raise and lower the flow of water, because you want to be able to control that, especially with rivers like the Tigris. The Tigris has a very steep gradient, and it comes down a steep gradient to the Euphrates, which means it's very hard to irrigate, because it has a deeper channel, and which means it's more susceptible to glacier loss. Okay, very similar to Huanghe River, the Yellow River, China, which was considered China's blessing, China's sorrow. Okay, sorrow due to the flood. Now, caravans from east and west would converge upon Sassanian. Caravans from east and west would converge upon Sassanian, where trade was conducted in raw materials and manufactured items. Raw materials and manufactured items. That was a type of trade. I'm going to explain to you what some of these items were, so you get an idea of what was being traded, what was being produced. You would get carpets from Babylon. You get Persian rouge for export to China.
Sorry, rouge?
Rouge, cosmetics for the, yeah. Think of this ancient red wine.
So, I'm sorry, where did the carpets come from?
And they would come from Babylon. Like I told my ex-girlfriend, I said, you must be from Babylon. She goes, and why is that? Because you talk incessantly, you babble on. Now you know why she's no longer with nobody can take a joke. And basically you're going to also see the Persian rouge, of course, is going to be for cosmetics to make women look more alluring, and the Chinese tend to like the Persian rouge. And Egypt and Syria will provide textiles. Egypt and Syria will provide textiles, and the latter, meaning Syria alone, will provide gems. One of the great imports, that's in Sassanian. Yes, sir.
What were these textiles made out of?
Okay, we'll talk about that. I'll get to it in just give me a second or so. Okay? First of all, I'm going to tell you that the Chinese are going to provide more silk. And the Persians will export the silk as finished cloth. Meaning, in effect, that the Persians are not going to produce the silk themselves at this point. China has a monopoly on the silkworms that basically, and silkworm larvae, the caterpillars, what they are is they're little munching machines. And you basically put down mulberry leaves and they chow down. And once they do this, and they basically go through their larval phases, as they begin to do so, they spin silk. And then you collect it and you process it. Now the raw silk is given by the Chinese, traded to the Persians, and the Persians will actually export it as finished cloth. They'll create the actual textile itself, even though they won't have raw silk. Eventually they will. I'll talk to you about how that works. Now, Iran will emerge as a great intermediary in world commerce. Iran will emerge as a great intermediary in world commerce, but still, agriculture was the empire's most lucrative economic endeavor. Iran will emerge as a great intermediary in world commerce, but still agriculture was its most lucrative economic endeavor. Okay? However, the fate of an Iranian farmer is not a pleasant one. Pamela, Dehgans, what's happening?
Is it all the area close to the Zagros mountain? Because
Yes,
that's where the only
Zagros, near the Elbers, basically, and in areas of the Iranian plateau that are making use of knots. Okay? Now, the Iranian farmers, for the most part, will endure a very harsh fate. It's not fun to be an Iranian farmer under the Sassanians. They were subject to forced residence and immobility, meaning in effect they were like serfs. Okay, they did not have, they had restrictions on their movements. They were literally tied to the land. Okay, and they were also subject to corvée labor. Is there anyone here who does not know what corvée labor is? That's okay. I'll write the term on the board. And where the hell did I put the chalk? I see it there. Okay, corvée labor. This is what corvée labor is. And by the way, the Anshan regime of the Bourbons had this as well in France. Here, really good 18th century French history. Let's say, for instance, oh yes, but it's applicable for what's going on in Sassanian Persia. I'll give you an example. Let's say, Sarah, you're out in the field growing crops, engaging in animal husbandry, okay? And then you come back from a nice 12-hour day in the field, backbreaking labor. Then I come by and I say to you, good evening, how are you tonight? You look like you're feeling strong. The Shah has a project for you. He would like you to help build one of the roads to build the bridge. And then, yes. And then they basically, you go, well, how much am I going to be paid for this? And then I go, but seriously. No. It's, in effect, forced unpaid labor on a public works project. Think of it as a type of temporary slavery by the government. Yes, folks.
I think throughout the world, corvée labor was often, not always, characteristic of feudal.
Very much so.
I mean, they had it in Europe.
Very much so. Very much so.
Well known.
It's an obligation that many have, and you see this sometimes on monumental projects. I think one of the great projects that utilized corvée labor was in the building of Angkor Wat in Cambodia. And during the time of Jayavarman VII, who basically lived in the 1100s or so, and built this huge temple complex that you should check it out if you're not familiar with it. Don't go there now, but you could bring it up on the internet. Yes, Josh, speak to me.
The corvée labor they were forced to do, was that only Persian? I mean, was that only non-Persian natives?
No. You know, just because you're a Persian farmer doesn't mean we're going to cut you slack. You're going to, on top of back-breaking labor in the field, growing cereal grains or whatever, you're going to have to work on the project of the government there, and you're not paid for it, okay? And if you think that this is bad enough, there's more, okay? They're also subject to conscription, meaning in the event that they need you to fight a war, hey, we got some action coming up somewhere else, we're going to get you to gear up and you're going to fight the war. And then you go, well, I haven't been trained how to fight. That's okay. Most likely you'll go in the front, you'll get killed anyway, so this way we'll finish off the tired troops. Thanks for your help. Sure. No need to be sorry, Erica. You and I are friends. Doesn't mean I'll lend you money, okay?
I know that a lot of the other forced to do
No, it was as needed. Don't think of it as a universal draft or standing army. Think of it as conscription at a time of emergency, like a militia. Think of it that way. And a militia group of irregulars, because they're not going to be like, if you're familiar with the term, with the Byzantine Akrotoi, the border guards, who basically were full-time soldiers that basically inherited tax-free land, providing they defend the borders of the empire. Same thing with the Ottoman Turks with the Sassanians, right? And basically they're Tamals, they're land guards. Yes? You hope that their wives would be doing that, or maybe somebody who is basically either too old or too young to serve effectively as soldiers there. Okay? It's not a hell of a pleasant obligation, to say the least. And especially in the event that you're going to send people into battle that haven't been trained for it, most likely will have terror weapons, don't get steppe nomads who are bona fide killers. Okay? So they see farmers coming at them, they're going to salivate. Okay? They don't look at easy that. Now, with regard to the conscription that does take place, of course these are going to be infantry. Infantry meaning foot soldiers. Why? Because basically in order to afford horses you need to have money, and they do not have enough money to afford horses. If they do have horses, these are horses that will be used for draft activity, meaning they're going to pull yokes. The horses that tend to be used for draft activity will not be good for war. They tend to be slower, less mobile, and basically they're not going to help you a hell of a lot. Now, another thing that the Iranian farmers have to face under the Sassanids is discriminatory head and land taxes. Head taxes are capitation tax. You pay this just for breathing the air. You pay this for being alive. Just like once again, the revolutionary France, if you paid the tithe was a capitation tax. This will be the Sassanid government itself that will levy these taxes and local nobles, and we'll talk about the local nobles later. Those are the Dehgans, or the Dehgans, excuse me. Sure, I'll do that for you. That basically the Iranian farmers ended up experiencing discriminatory head and land taxes. Taxes based on the fact that they're alive, and of course on the land that they have. Now, listen, yes, you guys have it.
This is in addition to all the other taxes.
Yes, this is a package deal, dude. Yeah. And Kenny?
This land tax bracket or?
Okay, it's going to be set. This is not going to be what you would call basically, they wouldn't do this with a cadastral survey. I'll explain that will come later. Okay, but there's going to be a set tax there. And usually it's crushing. And in the event that there's a full harvest, there is no tax moratorium, meaning there's no abatement on the taxes or no respite from the taxes. The farmers are still responsible for paying the taxes, even if they didn't grow frequently. Okay? Now, as far as city dwellers go, they will only pay a personal tax. City dwellers will only pay a personal tax even though they had larger incomes than the peasants.
Personal taxes.
Basically, only a tax that they would pay just from their own income, from whatever they make. And their income is more lucrative, Marcello, than the peasants and the farmers. So in effect, what's happening is the people that could least afford to pay the most, and the people that could afford to pay the most pay the least, like modern-day America. Yeah, should be very familiar. Ming Dynasty China is another example too, and China always seems to go through those patterns of aggressive taxation of peasants by either a Mandarin bureaucracy, the emperor himself, provincial landowners, and that's very much true.
But
then,
China, that usually follows some form of government.
Yes, especially if there is a natural disaster in the form of flood or an earthquake. Usually, in the event that there's a natural disaster, that could also be assigned to the peasants that the emperor lost the mandate of heaven, the right to rule. And because they would assume that the gods are angry in the event that, anything catastrophic like that happens, and they can see that as a signal toward revolt. Yes, speak to me, Ori. That's correct. That's right. Now, with regard to the Iranian warlords, okay, and they are referred to as Dehgans. And I'll talk to you about them in detail later in the lecture. Okay, the Iranian warlords, the Dehgans, still ride out from their fiefs. They still ride out from their fiefs, but the wealthy city dwellers, the wealthy urbanites are exempt from military drafts. So wealthy urbanites are exempt from military drafts. Yes, speak to me, sir. Meaning, you get on your horse and you ride out from the domain that you were given to preside over by the Shah himself. Okay, and I'm going to explain to you what they do. Exactly. Exactly, the fiefs are their domain. Now, while the Iranian warlords still ride out from their fiefs, the Sassanids will primarily depend. The Sassanids will primarily depend upon lesser nobles. The Sassanids will primarily depend on lesser nobles who owe their position to the crown. The Sassanids would try not to depend too much on Dehgans. The reason why they tended to depend, if they put more on lesser nobles who owe their positions to the crown, is that if you get your position due to me, you are less likely to revolt, rebel. Okay? Because that means, in effect, that you could lose your position. Okay? It's not an intelligent person that's going to fight against people. Kimberly, what's up? No need to be sorry. How can I help you? Sure. The Dehgans are your top Iranian warlords, and they have their own little private armies. The nobles that are created by the Shah himself are the ones that the Sassanian Shah prefers to send into action. The reason why he prefers to send them into action is they're less likely to follow their own independent initiative. Because you see, if I'm going to make you a noble, you're responsible to me. You're less likely to rebel. However, these Dehgans, they're like powers unto themselves. Okay? You depend upon them when the nation is really in crisis and you can't go anywhere else. The Dehgans will get power by originally supporting Ardashir in his conquest of the Sassanids. So as a reward for that, they're given their own parcels of land to administer, which they administer like their own independent kingdoms. However, they are required to fight for the Shah, but you always have to be careful because their armies are loyal to them, okay, personally, which means that if they take over a particular land, the Shah may not get the benefits of it. Okay? That's why the Shah wants to depend on the noble armies from the nobles that he will have created himself. Yes, sir. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. There are obligations. It's not like they're totally autonomous. They're not. There are obligations. But let's just say that that there's a certain reciprocity here, and I will tell you for the most part that the Shah will need the Dehgans more than the Dehgans will need the Shah. Okay? And Leah, did you have a question? No, the Shah will not do this. It's going to be either the lesser nobility that he creates or the Dehgans that will stretch the farm. Okay? Because the Shah himself is not going to write through Persians and say, you get off your plow, you put that lamb away, and or whatever, put your plow away, get ready to fight. Okay? No. It's going to be the local guys that are going to stop by and they'll know the villagers and they'll say, you get your sons here first thing in the morning. I know who you are, I know how many children you have, I know how many male children you have, I know how old they are. So I don't want to hear that they're obeying the military, so it's not compromise my office tomorrow. Okay? So that's the way it goes down. Yes?
Dehgan is like zamindars in India, zamindar nawabs.
Yes! Yes, similar. The zamindars under the Mughals, and the zamindars, however, are a little bit different. I'll make a comparison later. It's a little bit different, but it's somewhat similar. Now, basically, the Magi, excuse me, forgive me that, I don't want to talk about the Magi just yet. Let me continue along the lines. Sorry about that, I got discombobulated. Basically, royal relatives of the Shah tended to be appointed to rule as provincial subjects. So royal relatives were appointed to rule as provincial sub-kings, and you'd hope that blood was thicker than water, meaning that because they're related to the Shah, that they would tend to serve his interests. Most of the time that's true, sometimes it's not. Yes, Jan? Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, although at this particular point they'll refer to them as provincial lords. Yeah, okay. Now, Roman Mesopotamia and Syria will be invaded by Ardashir. And this will take place during the reign of one of the last really good emperors of Rome before what was called the Barracks period. And Syria, this will be Syria, okay? Roman Mesopotamia and Syria. The Romans that occupied Mesopotamia and Syria, which they've taken over from the Sassanians. Ardashir wants it back, okay? Now, the emperor at the time for Rome is a very good emperor. He's very young, he's very good. His name is Alexander Severus. Unfortunately, in 235, he's going to be killed by his own troops. When basically they thought that there was a false rumor that he was going to execute some of his generals, and they killed him, which was really bad, because from 235 to 285, Rome will go through about 50 emperors or more during that period. That's known as a period of Barracks emperors, and there are only 2 emperors during that period that die from natural causes. The rest get killed, okay, by their own troops. Now, what's going to happen is, with the invasion of Roman Mesopotamia and Syria, this is going to start almost 4 centuries of hostility between Rome and Sassanian Persia. Yes, David?
Wait, it's not a really Byzantine Empire?
Well, yes, later on. Constantinople will be founded in 330 by the Emperor Constantine. However, it's going to begin basically almost 100 years before the foundation of Constantinople. Although Rome will control the areas that are considered to be the Byzantine Empire back then. It's just not referred to as the Byzantine Empire until really the fall of the Western Roman Empire, which will take place in 476. Okay? Now, what ends up happening is in 241, you're going to see Shahpur succeed his father. He succeeds Ardashir, and Shahpur is actually going to campaign against the Romans very aggressively. And he's going to take, Shahpur in 241, is going to take Armenia from Rome. In 241, Shahpur will take Armenia from Rome. Why is Armenia important? Well, this is why Shahpur wants to take Armenia. This is why. It's ruled by a remnant of the Assassins. Okay? The rivals before him. Remember, in effect, the Assassins overthrew the Assassins. The Assassins are still in control of Armenia. So, in effect, Shahpur wants them flushed out. That's number one. That's one of the reasons why I'll take Armenia. The other is that from the point of view of both Rome, and Persia, Armenia is very strategic. And I'll tell you why.
Can you repeat the first reason, please?
The first reason, once again, Armenia was basically ruled by a branch of the Assassins. And we remember that the Assassins were overthrown by the Assassins. So the Assassins don't want a branch of the Assassins left on their doorstep. They're a rival dynasty. They don't want them to claim legitimacy.
I'm sorry, Armenia's along with Caspian?
Armenia would be right over here. Okay? Now, what's happening is Armenia is important because it basically controls certain passes of the Caucasus Mountains. It controls certain passes of the Caucasus Mountains through which Russian tribes invade Southwest Asia. It controls certain passes from the Caucasus Mountains through which Russian tribes can invade Southwest Asia, meaning Persia, meaning Turkey, okay, Iraq.
When you say Russians, do you mean ethnic Russians?
Basically, think of them just as geographic Russians, okay, from there. Okay, now,
And you can attack the last few words you said.
okay, basically they could attack Southwest Asia. Yeah, Turkey, Iran, Iraq. Now, in 260, an episode takes place which sends shockwaves throughout the ancient Mediterranean. The Roman Emperor Valerian, who is at the head of troops, will be taken captive by Shahpur during peace negotiations. So Valerian, who is the Roman Emperor, will be taken captive in 260 during peace negotiations, and he's going to spend the rest of his life as a prisoner of the Persians. Okay? If you wanted to see how this looks, you will see in Fars province sometimes you may see with an eye, Nakshi Rustam. It's like the Heston. These are inscriptions that are going to be carved into a rock cliff, and what they show is the Roman Emperor Valerian in chains on his knees before Shahpur. It's what it is it's basically an ego thing. It's basically showing the supremacy of Sassanid Iran over the Roman Empire. Now, we have no reason to believe that basically Valerian was ill-treated. In most cases, it seemed that he was treated well. He was just kept a hostage, and he dies in captivity. Okay? Now, when Shahpur crushed the Roman army, he's going to bring back a massive amount of war booty. Among the war booty will be Roman captives, but of a particular type. So he's going to bring back more booty, more treasure, and he's going to bring back Roman captives in the form of engineers. And these engineers that will be brought from Rome will actually build a massive dam for purposes of irrigation. These Roman captive engineers will build a massive dam for purposes of irrigation at Shahpur. This would be in modern day Eastern Iraq. Now, I'm talking to you about Shahpur's war aims and his achievements, and you see they're impressive. However, it's during Shahpur's reign that you're going to see a sea change with regard to Zoroastrian policies. And this is going to be heralded, this will be begun by the death of Tansar. Remember Tansar, the Zoroastrian high priest, the fellow who would end up compiling the Zendavesta, the official Zoroastrian canon. When Tansar, who is tolerant, dies, when he dies, there's going to be a change. First of all, under Tansar, Zoroastrianism, while it was a state religion of Iran, while it was a state religion of Sassanid Iran, it was generally tolerant of Christians, and it was tolerant of the sizable Jewish population. So under Tansar, while Zoroastrianism was the official state religion, it was not a persecuting religion. It's not like Tansar said, oh, well, if somebody isn't Zoroastrian, get him the hell out of Iran. It wasn't that at all. However, the new head of the Magi is a fellow named Karthir. And he is totally different in his ideas and his approach than Tansar. First of all, Karthir was not a tolerant man, and he is going to organize a Magi. He's going to organize a Magi around an inflexible orthodoxy. He will organize a Magi around an inflexible orthodoxy, which will persecute other faiths. This is aggressively intolerant. And this is something Zoroastrianism didn't see before. Now, originally Shahpur is going to support Karthir's policies of oppression. Originally, Shahpur will support Karthir's policies of oppression. But he's going to change his mind. Shahpur will reverse his position. Now you say, well, why would he change his mind? Why would he reverse his position? I'm sorry?
Karthir was the next high priest.
After Tansar, yes. Okay. That's a very good answer. As a matter of fact, it's very, very, very close to that. Because according to Shahpur, it looks like the Zoroastrian clergy could be arriving from power. And he's afraid that if he makes Zoroastrianism all-encompassing, then he might lose his power to Karthir as a Magi priest. And he doesn't want to do that. He's okay with Zoroastrianism bolstering his position as Shah, but not subverting it. Technically speaking, yes. I think that Karthir was different. Basically, Karthir tended to be much more ambitious. And I think that Shahpur realizes over time. That's why I think he changed his mind, because I think he saw Karthir making religious inroads that could have secular implications. And we'll go over that, because that's exactly what he he's afraid it could be a serious one. And by the way, I should have said this before. God bless you. For those of you that don't know, this is a very sad week because of the death of Dr. Martin Pine, who had passed away, who was an excellent colleague of mine in my cohorts here at Queens College, and who had served Queens College so well since the 1960s, being our resident scholar of the Italian Renaissance. He had passed away over the weekend, and if you can keep a thought, if you know him, and you can keep a prayer from in your heart, that would be nice, okay? Thank you so much. And with regard to Karthir, basically, he does have a great deal of ambition. And what's going to happen is, Shahpur figures he doesn't want this guy to subvert his position, so what's going to happen is Shahpur will issue a new edict of tolerance. And this new edict of tolerance will apply to everyone across the board. Shahpur is getting away from Karthir's bigotry, his intolerance. Okay, however, I'm going to show you how Karthir comes back to power. Because he will with this aggressive persecution policies. And it has to do with the rise of a new prophet. Oh, he doesn't have the army. It's not, however, as long as he has the support of Shahpur, Shahpur provides the army to him. That's right. Well, basically he doesn't have power anyway. Think of it that way for the time being. So the edict is issued by the Shah. Okay, it's not Karthir that issues the edict. It's a Shah. Well, he's not allowed to persecute. That would be going against the king's rule. It's not going to go against the Shah. If the Shah says it's tolerance, someone else is going to because of the fact that Karthir has some followers to the civil war.
Doesn't Karthir also control the magic control of bureaucracy?
Up to a point, and Karthir will be pushed to the periphery for now. But I'm going to show you how Shahpur and his descendants will make use of Karthir again. But in order to do that, I have to base